Not sold in stores, so call now. Rush delivery available.
Hello. Welcome to Russey Reels. I'm your host, Russey. Tonight's show, we'll be watching the noir film, The Stranger. Ideally, this will be not knocked off the air like last week was, and will be viewed totally live, as intended. If so, it'll be the first show to do so. It'll be the first show to be viewed as Russey Reels as was intended. So welcome. The Stranger follows an ex-Nazi who's in hiding in the United States, in Connecticut, being hunted down by a detective. Directed and starring Orson Welles, it's a 1946 film that wasn't one of his most popular. Orson Welles obviously made a film that you might have heard of, titled Citizen Kane. Although this film came out 5 years later, not many people talk about it, and Orson Welles even calls it one of his least favorite films. I hope you enjoy The Stranger.
The cell door open. That's all there is to it. Let him escape.
In my view, it's all very irregular. It might entail the most embarrassing repercussions.
Exactement.
Certainly.
It's the responsibility of the first magnitude.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson, but you must...
Blast all this discussion. What good are words? I'm sick of words. Hang the repercussions and the responsibility. If I fail, I'm responsible. Leave the cell door open. Let him escape. Let him. It's our only chance.
Mais, monsieur...
Well, you can threaten me with the bottom pits of hell, and still I insist. This obscenity must be destroyed. Do you hear me? Destroyed!
Todos los pasajeros desembarquen. All passengers ready to disembark.
I'm traveling for my health. I'm traveling for my health.
Tengan listos sus pasaportes. Get your passports ready.
I'm traveling for my health.
Je n'ai pas compris. I don't understand.
You business in this country, senora.
I'm joining my husband.
Next, please. Stepan Polaski. You take care of him, too, senor. Your business in this country, senor. I'm traveling for my health.
How? I am traveling for my health.
Oh.
You are a native of what country?
Holland. No, Holland. Trata permanece.
Next, please.
¿Para qué vino usted a este país, señor? pasó?
Yo lo voy a seguir a pie, tú vete en el carro.
Ah, bien. Hotel Nacional, 7702.
Hello? Yes? You haven't lost him. You're sure you know where he's going?
My wife is following him. He's gone to the photographer's, probably to get a new passport and new instructions.
Hold it.
I wish to know the whereabouts of Franz Kindler. Franz Kindler. There is no Franz Kindler. Franz Kindler is dead and cremated. It's a command! I have a message for Franz Kindler from the All-Highest. It is forbidden. I command you in the name of that authority. You know the name he is using? Connecticut. In the United States. The town of Harper. Harper!
Oh. Excuse me.
From Lake Arrowhead, is that place crowded? The hotel gave me a room that was so small, every time I closed the door, the knob got in bed with me. Now, you know how cold those brass doorknobs are on a winter night. I had so many blankets.
Good afternoon.
I had
Good
to use a
afternoon.
boat to find a place to get
Have a
in.
nice trip?
You know, it got so
Yes,
cold
thank
that
you.
at 4 o'clock in the morning, I got up and lit a
Quite a
fire.
story you have here,
If
Mr.
you ever had a fire in your nightshirt, you
Potter.
know what I
That's
mean.
me.
The place
We
was
sell
just
about
full of
everything
rats.
here.
The two of them started fighting in the little room. Well, I called the manager. I said, hey, there's two rats fighting in this room. He said, what do you want for $1.25? A bullfight? About 7 o'clock in the morning, the house detective knocked on the door. He said, is there a maid in your room? I said, no. So he pushed one in. She was a cute little chambermaid. Said to me, did you ever hear the double bed? I said, no. So she said, I just laid it out. Of course, there was another fellow in the room with me. He was at the desk when I checked in. There was one
This
split.
suitcase,
The clerk said, Mr.
I could leave it here?
Mitchell,
There's a bag home. Oh, yeah, I don't assume no responsibility. Just put it up on the shelf. It'll be there when you want it.
I'll buy this magazine.
That'll be in time, mister.
What's the best hotel in town?
Best place to stay is down at Mrs. Peabody's. It's just down the road here a piece. This way, mister.
Yes, thank you.
I may come in?
Yes, of course.
Does Mr. Charles Rankin live here?
Yes, he does, but he isn't here right now.
You expect him?
Yes, in a few minutes.
How soon?
Well, a few minutes.
A few minutes. I may... I may wait here?
Well, yes, if you like. Would you like to sit down?
Thank you.
You a friend of Mr. Rankin?
Yes, a friend.
I'm Mary Longstreet. How do you do?
How do you do?
Mr. Rankin ought to be here now. Sometimes he stays after his last class, but he'll be coming straight here today, I'm sure. Because this is our wedding day.
You are getting married?
Yes, at 6 o'clock. I know it's most unconventional, my being here today, but I want to get these curtains up.
When he comes, which way does he come?
Why, from Webster Hall. It's the big dome building right over there, you see?
I shall meet him.
Well, who shall I say that
Franz. It's I, Franz.
Heineke, we mustn't be seen talking together. Go back to the church. Into the woods, you understand me? Follow the path. I'll meet you there.
Hello, Professor Rankin.
Hello, man. What are you up to?
Paper chase.
Oh, paper chase?
I go ahead and lay the trail. You ought to have Jerry's job, Mr. Rankin. Take a little off that waistline.
No, you ought to go with us, Mr. Rankin.
Well, where to?
The woods.
Oh, Buzzard.
The woods? Well, I'd like to. I'm afraid I have a couple of things to attend to.
Well, join us later. We'll be out till dark.
All right.
Oh, we'll catch up with you.
Meineke.
Yes, Meineke. I thought I had been hanged. The others, but not I. A dead man could not stand face to face with you, Franz.
You're not much changed. You're back in your old uniform? Very much the same.
Franz, I am a different man than before.
I, too. I, too, am different, Conrad. You know how I gathered and destroyed every single item in Germany and Poland that might have served as a clue to my identity. Well, guess what I'll be doing at 6 o'clock tonight? Standing before a minister of the gospel with a woman's hand in mine, a daughter of a justice of the United States Supreme Court, a famous liberal. The girl's even good to look at. Yes, the camouflage is perfect. Who would think to look for the notorious Franz Kindler in the sacred precincts of the Harper School, surrounded by the sons of America's first families? And I'll stay hidden till the day when we strike again.
Franz, there will be another war?
Of course.
War is an abomination, saved the Lord. It is to tell you this that I am here. He set me free that I might come here and tell.
Who set you free?
To you. The all highest.
You don't mean?
I mean God. Franz, I'm a new man since I found you.
You, Conrad, a religious.
Franz, all doors were open to me. All doors. It was one of God's miracles.
They freed you so you'd lead them to me. Have you been followed?
We followed here?
Yes.
Who followed you?
The evil one. He looked like any other man. He was dressed like any other man. He even smoked a pipe. But I recognized him through his disguise. And I killed him, striking from on high down. God's will be done.
You killed him, the man with the pipe? The man who followed you? No one else followed you?
You must be brought to salvation, Franz. Confess your sins as I have. Proclaim your guilt. Only thus you can attain salvation.
You really think so, Conrad?
It will take strength. Such strength as can come only from God. Kneel by me, Franz. And together we will pray to him to give you strength. I have sinned against heaven and before thee. I am not worthy to be called thy son. Say these words after me. I despair of my sins.
I despair of my sins.
O God of all goodness, how could I ever have offended thee?
Of all goodness.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together here in the sight of God and in the face of this company to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony. And forsaking all others, keep thee only unto her so long as ye both shall live.
I will.
Mary, wilt thou have this man for thy wedded husband, to live together after God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love him, comfort him, honor and keep him in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, keep thee only unto him so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Good afternoon. Afternoon.
Wedding?
Yep. Judge Longstreet's daughter. He's Supreme Court Justice, you know.
Bottle of aspirin, please.
Right back there, third shelf down at the top. You'll see the big ones on the left, economy size. You have to get it yourself, mister. Right back there. All your needs are on our shelves. Just look around, help yourselves. Right in there, right this one. That's it. Living down to Mrs. Peabody's?
Just a few days only. Some coffee, too, please. Or should I get it myself?
Cafeteria style around here, Mr.
That's right. Self-service.
The usual thing.
Yes, that's $3 even, Mr. Todd.
No limit on the cream.
But all the people around here take it black.
The one on the right.
Oh, thank you. Who's Miss Longstreet marrying?
One of the teachers down at school.
A stranger in town.
I issued the license.
Oh.
Yep. I'm town clerk. Checkers?
All right. Town clerk, huh?
Yep.
Well, that must be quite a responsibility.
Oh, town clerk runs the town, you might say. Yeah. We usually make it for 15, 20. We often play as high as 25 cents a game.
Well, it's kind of stiff for me, but I'll take a flyer. Make $1 million, lose $1 million.
That's the way it goes. I move.
All right. Well, you must know just about everybody in town here.
Not just about. Know everybody. You're on business?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. School business?
Oh.
No. Selling something?
Mm.
No. Buying? Oh, antique dealer. They all come to Harker. Judge Longstreet's got the best collection in these parts. Won't do you no good, though.
No, I don't suppose he'd sell. Happen to know there are any other out-of-town buyers here?
Let me... Come to think of it, there's a fella come in this morning.
Yeah?
Came on the same bus with you.
Oh.
Left a suitcase here, never did come back for it. He might have been one of them. No, he was more of the missionary type. Wasn't in here but a minute, just looked in the phone book. Tiny little fella he was, thinnish, unfortunate looking. Hurt your head, mister?
No, nothing serious.
Oh, that's too bad. It's a game you got to keep your mind on. 25 cents, please.
So this is a different segment than the reviews that you see, like my Russey Read View and such. This is Russey Recommends, which isn't exactly a review, it's more of a just me talking about something I really enjoy and I think you should check out. Not that you should have to enjoy it and I should force you to like do that, but should be something I think that you should check out at least once. So I try to keep these pertinent to what the episode is about, which this episode is A Stranger. Like last month I could have done, I don't know, another Roger Corman film, or just Roger Corman's work in general as a recommendation. So this film isn't Orson Welles, but it's something that Orson Welles has worked on, and that is the suspense radio dramas, which the suspense radio dramas are, they ran from, I think, the late 30s to the early 50s, and they were a series of dramas that were contained in one episode and were horror stories that would come on late at night, hosted by, I think it was RKO, I can't remember, but yeah, there was a lot of great actors who were involved in this, which included Orson Welles and Agnes Moorehead, who was in a ton of them, and she's fantastic, just a famous actress in American history for like 50 years. But yeah, so I discovered these when I was in middle school. We were forced to read, and yeah, I was forced in middle school. We were forced to read a play adaptation, and it was the same script as from the radio show in our class. It was in our big textbook of reading for some reason, and I don't know why, because I don't know. I don't really know what it covered, because you could talk about Animal Farm and McCarthyism or whatever, but this, I don't know why this was assigned to us, but it was fun. And essentially, it was a story that we read called The Hitchhiker, which is one of the more famous suspense stories. And it follows this dude who's driving, and you might have seen the Twilight Zone episode of this, and I think there was even like a whole movie, I'm not sure. But he's going across the country, and he's being chased by this hitchhiker he sees, or he thinks he's being chased. It's never really concluded, but he keeps seeing this guy everywhere who's calling out to him, and he's just on the run. And we read it, and we listened to it, and I thought it was great. It's kind of like pulpy, and a lot of them are kind of pulpy, but I think that's the charm of it, especially from the era it's in. So you have The Hitchhiker, and you have stuff like Sorry, Wrong Number, which is also a fantastic one. But you can find all of these on YouTube. There's a great YouTube channel. I think it's called just Old Timey Radio, and he just I think that's what it's called, and he uploads just a bunch of these, because no one's really coming after them, so they're all on there. And admittedly, I mean, because they came on every month, or every week, and so there's some really bad ones, but there are also some really great ones, and it's great to have on while you're driving at night, and just listening and taking in the atmosphere, because they would have come on the radio late at night. So it's just go in your car and listen to at least The Hitchhiker. Listen to The Hitchhiker while you're driving around late at night, and it has this eerie music and just a great execution. Orson Welles is the star of that one, who is the star of this movie, obviously. And no, they're great. There's also, you can check out The Shadow, who is a superhero, which was in a drama. He has like the power of invisibility, and he inspired Batman. He also inspired a character called Sybil Francis, but we'll get into that story later. But yeah, The Shadow is also great. It's about this guy who has this motto, like, what evil lurks in the hearts of men, and he's just kind of this, if you think about it, psychotic character. But those two, Suspense and The Shadow, I'd recommend checking out. They're old and they're pulpy, but they're really fun, and usually have really solid actors who would go on to do greater things, but were pretty solid in the original. So yeah, that's what Russey recommends this time, and I hope you check them out. They're fantastic.
Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
Hello, welcome back. Tonight's root beer that we picked up is the Gene Autry root beer. Not sure how this is going to go. Don't know if it's going to be as good as Margot's Dark, which was fantastic. And it is not twist off. As always, oh my god, come here. As always, we have this. And this is never sponsored. Alright, the Gene Autry root beer. Oh, I'm crying again. I do this every time. That's really good too. Man, picking some good ones. Yeah, that is really good. I don't know if it's as good as Margot's Dark. I would have to drink them side by side, but it has, I mean, it's also cane sugar, so it's pretty close. Tastes like, it's like Dad's but better. Yeah, it's like Dad's but better. So yeah, Gene Autry root beer. I don't know where you can get it. I found it at a gas station, so yeah, we'll see. But yes, welcome back. If I was coming back after the original cut of this film, I would have come back after a completely different scene. Yeah. So Welles was apparently known for long exposition, And the studio was aware of this and gave the editor permission to snip whatever he wanted. So 30 full minutes, 19 minutes were taken from the beginning, but 30 full minutes of this film are, gone, edited out. And whether this is a loss or not is never going to be up for debate, as the negatives are ostensibly lost footage forever. So I'm sure Welles loved that. Speaking of Welles, the direction so far, in my opinion, is superb, but this is the man who directed Citizen Kane, so I think that is not a shocker. But I am just a sucker for noir in general. I love the harsh lighting. I love the characters, the hard-boiled detectives, and typically Nazis are just some kind of mafia member. I loved the music and just the overall tone that you find in like Dick Tracy, The Spirit, or The Shadow, those types of stories. So far we've had our apparent murders, one being real, and that scene that leads up to Meineke, who is the former partner of Rankin, Orson Welles, that was a 4.5 minute long scene, just one take, and it follows them from up the road all the way into the woods to where his final fate is. And there's a few more of those, but I love those. And you don't even really notice it unless it's pointed out to you. I didn't notice it the first time I saw this. And yeah, that's just fantastic. I love that. But yeah, what I mean by apparent deaths, though, is Rankin made sure that Meineke was dead, but Meineke did not do a good job with the detective. The detective is obviously not dead, as we need a protagonist, and he just got kind of checker swindled by Mr. Potter, who was added to the script after by Orson Welles. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But will the detective in his new state be able to catch up to Rankin and figure out who he is? Let's continue and find out.
I won't pretend I'm not disappointed.
Hello, Father. Has anybody seen my brand new husband?
Don't tell me he's deserted you already.
Yes, looks as if, the brute. Listen, Red, have you seen Charles?
No, you go find him for me. Go on, go find Charles. Hurry up.
I've looked everywhere for him, Mary, and I can't find him.
I wonder where he could be. I'm getting worried.
Are you, darling? What about?
Charles, you've changed.
Don't you think you'd better? After all, aren't we supposed to be going on a honeymoon or something?
Give me 5 minutes.
Was that you working up there on the clock?
No, I was just cleaning around it.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. What I can see out front, beautiful.
Yes.
My name's Wilson.
Oh, I'm Longstreet, Noah Longstreet.
Oh, I'm glad to know you.
Mr. Wilson?
I couldn't judge any too well out front, but I'd say it was late 16th century, probably by Hobrecht of Strasbourg. The clock.
Well, I wouldn't know. My brother-in-law's going to work on it.
Is he up there now?
No. He's on his honeymoon. He plans to work on it when he gets back.
Oh. Is he an expert?
Well, yes, but it's really more of a hobby with him.
Really? Well, it is with me, too. Honeymoon?
Yes. He and my sister. He has to be back on Friday because of the examinations.
Oh.
He's one of the teachers at the school. His name is Rankin.
It's nice to be able to show it to someone who knows what Revere Silver's all about.
Mm.
But personally, my specialty is pewter.
Oh, yes, pewter. The Revere workmanship, although sometimes heavy in design, almost invariably shows the sign of a master craftsman. It's beautiful.
Noah.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, honey.
Oh, Mary,
Adam.
dear. Mr. Wilson, my daughter, Mary.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. Wilson? I'm glad to
Son-in-law,
see you.
Charles Rankin.
How do you do? How do you do? I hope you don't mind my intruding on your homecoming.
Good evening, Mary.
Sure.
Jeff, how are you?
Fine. You're looking good.
Welcome home, Miss Mary, dear.
Sarah.
Sarah, you sweet thing. If you don't sit down, it'll get cool. Come on, Jen.
Charles.
So glad to see
Judge.
you.
Well, sister, how were the mountains?
They were perfectly marvelous. Mr. Wilson, will you come sit over here on my right? Jeff, your usual place. Darling, you're right there. You ought to see Charles on skis. He's absolutely wonderful.
No.
Yes, darling, you are, and I'm pretty good too, aren't I?
Very.
Well, for a beginner.
Do you remember to keep your knees together and your apparatus in?
Yes, Freshy, I did.
Mr. Wilson here is compiling a catalog of Paul Revere silver.
How nice.
Mr. Wilson is also an authority on clocks.
Oh, really? That's Charles' hobby, too.
Yes, so your brother tells me. I understand you're going to fix the one in the church tower.
I may try.
Well, that's quite an undertaking.
Show the kind of a wife I am, I hope he fails. I like Harper just the way it is, even with the clock that doesn't run.
Have you been at Harper long, Mr. Wilson?
Since Friday, a week ago.
You lost today. I patched you up on Friday. By the way, how's the head?
Oh, very much improved, thanks to you, Doctor.
You were hurt on Thursday, remember? The day of the wedding.
Yes, that's right. Wednesday, I left Bangor.
You were hurt, Mr. Wilson?
Oh, nothing serious.
Well, serious enough to raise a bump on his head the size of a billiard ball.
The usual door.
Good thing you're back, sister. That dog of yours has been inconsolable.
Well, all right, Red. Wait a minute. Here you are. This is for missing me. How's that? Yeah, it's a good boy. How was your meeting, Adam?
Oh, irritating. Foreign Policy Association.
I read that fellow's report.
Standish, yes.
I think he's full of prunes.
Well, that's the way we used to talk in the 1930s, Noah.
Standish?
The London Times man in Berlin.
Yes, of course, he was quoting rumors mostly. Men drilling by night, underground meeting places, pagan rituals.
Do you believe him, Paul?
Well, anything's possible.
I'm sorry, sir, but I think it's ridiculous. Well, there may be some fanatics, but no German in his right mind can still have a taste for war.
Do you know Germany, Mr. Rankin?
I'm sorry, I have a way of making enemies when I'm on that subject. I get pretty unpopular.
Well, we shall consider it the objective opinion of an objective historian.
Historian? A psychiatrist could explain it better. The German sees himself as the innocent victim of world envy and hatred conspired against, set upon by inferior peoples, inferior nations. He cannot admit to error, much less to wrongdoing. Not the German. We chose to ignore Ethiopia and Spain, but we learned from our casualty list the price of looking the other way. Men of truth everywhere have come to know for whom the bell tolled, but not the German. He still follows his warrior gods. Marching to Wagnerian strains, his eyes still fixed upon the fiery sword of Siegfried. And in those subterranean meeting places that you don't believe in, the German's dream world comes alive, and he takes his place in shining armor beneath the banners of the Teutonic Knights. Mankind is waiting for the Messiah, but for the German, The Messiah is not the Prince of Peace. He's another Barbarossa. Another Hitler.
Well, then you have no faith in the reforms that are being effected in Germany.
I don't know, Mr. Wilson. I can't believe that people can be reformed except from within. The basic principles of equality and freedom never have, never will take root in Germany. The will to freedom has been voiced in every other tongue. All men are created equal, liberté, égalité, fraternité, but in German...
There's Marx. Proletarians unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
But Marx wasn't a German. Marx was a Jew.
But, my dear Charles, if we concede your argument, there is no solution.
Well, so once again, I differ.
Well, what is it, then?
Annihilation. Down to the last babe in arms.
Charles, I can't imagine you're advocating a Carthaginian peace.
Well, as an historian, I must remind you that the world hasn't had much trouble from Carthage in the past 2,000 years.
Well, there speaks our pedagogue.
Speaking of teachers, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, yes.
The faculty is coming for tea next Tuesday. If you have nothing better to do, would you like to join us?
Well, I'd like to, but my work here is finished. I'm leaving Harper tomorrow.
Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
That dinner scene, just fantastic. I love the approach of these two opposing forces, these two actors, like battling off almost in this scene, mostly in their facial expressions. One being Welles, of course, playing Rankin, and the other Mr. Wilson, who was played by Edward G. Robinson, who Robinson was in other films, other noir films. He usually played like intimidating characters or just criminals. I think he was in Double Indemnity and stuff like that. But yeah, I just love this like facial like banter that these two have in the scene. And actually, the character of Mr. Wilson was originally supposed to be played by Agnes Moorehead, who we mentioned earlier in the show, or should have by this point. And she, was famed at this time, and she worked on the suspense radio show with Welles. And yeah, he thought it'd be an interesting idea to have a female character as the one chasing the Nazi on this Nazi's heels. But the studio disagreed and hired Robinson instead. But yes, this dinner scene, I just love this, like, almost, it's a very interesting character moment. I really enjoy this self-admittance, almost, this reflection on themselves, Rankin, this is, on, like, Germany and Nazism, and just, Germany at that time. And as he talks more and more, people in the table are kind of confused, but Robinson's character, Wilson, is becoming more and more focused, less confused. He is realizing that this is the one they're looking for. And I think that's just a great scene. And that last bit about how the second coming for Germany isn't Jesus, but in fact a second Hitler. And yeah, just deliciously like evil, very like brazen to like have this on full display. And yeah, so I thought that was really fascinating.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Clocks being Mr. Wilson's hobby, too.
Yes, isn't it?
Well, Red, how do you like your new house?
He loves it. Come here, Red. I think I'll take you for a walk. Come here, boy.
Oh, darling, you don't have to take him out. Just let him out. He won't run off.
All right. I need the walk. I'm restless. Come on, boy.
That's good. How are you coming along?
I'll be in Washington tomorrow afternoon. You were right about Rankin. He's above suspicion.
Here, Red. Red. Come here.
Give me long distance. I want Washington, D.C.
Well, who but a Nazi would deny that Karl Marx was a German because he was a Jew? I think I'll stick around for a while.
What is it, dear?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was dreaming about that little man.
What little man?
Oh, you know, dear, I told you about him. He came here the day we were married. Light me a cigarette, would you? I've never had a dream like that before. It frightened me. Thanks. You know, the little man was walking all by himself across a deserted city square. Wherever he moved, he threw a shadow. But when he moved away, Charles, the shadow stayed there behind him and spread out just like a carpet. Wish you could think who he might have been.
You're overtired.
Yes, perhaps. Here, dear, put this out, will you? What was that? Why, that sounded like Red, Charles. What in the world's the matter with him?
I put him in the cellar.
Oh, darling, no wonder he's howling. He's never been locked up in his entire life.
Red is to live with us. He must be trained. At night, he will sleep in the cellar. In the daytime, he'll be kept on a leash.
Charles, I don't believe in dogs being treated like prisoners. Red's my dog.
Please, Mary. I know it's best.
Gone to live with your mistress.
Oh, Mary brought him home. Said he howls all night.
Oh. Fishing any good in these parts?
Pretty fair. You like to come along?
I'm afraid I've got the wrong clothes on, but the fish probably won't mind. Thank you.
I'm just not lucky today, that's all. Would you like a candy bar?
Well, I don't mind if I do. Thank you. All your folks like fishing?
Oh, my dad's great. He always brings in something.
Well, what about Charles?
Charles? Oh. I have to call him Mr. Rankin at school. I get a little mixed up sometimes. spends most of his time on the clock, you know.
Why don't you like him, Noah?
What do you mean?
Well, you don't like your brother-in-law. It's none of my business, but I wish you'd tell me why.
Well, I like him well enough. That's the only reason why I shouldn't.
Don't tell me I'm butting in because I know I am, but I can't help myself. It's my business. I hate bringing you into this, Noah, but you're the only one I can turn to. I need your help very badly.
Well, what is it?
Your sister may be in great trouble. I know that you're man enough for what I'm going to ask you to do for her. The truth is, I'm not really an antique dealer. I'm sort of a detective.
Well, what do you want me to do, Mr. Wilson?
It would help me a lot if I knew every move Charles Rankin made on the day of his wedding, right up to the ceremony.
Well, I should be able to, unless Charles realizes what I'm doing.
I'll keep him busy.
Gee, Mr. Wilson, you must be wrong. Mary wouldn't fall in love with that kind of a man.
I hope I am wrong, Noah, but that's the way it is. People can't help who they fall in love with. Evening, Mr. Potter.
Evening, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
85 cents. Here you and Professor Ankton aim to fix the clock.
That's right.
Figured to tell time rightly?
Mm-hmm.
And will the angel circle around the belfry? Is that a man or a woman angel, Mr. Wilson?
I don't know.
Well, reckon don't make much of a difference amongst angels.
Well.
Give up?
No. We'll play it out. That's my privilege, 25 cents.
Yeah.
So, by the way, did Mr. Rankin pick up his supper this evening?
No. He generally gets through up there about now.
Yes, I know.
Gets dark early these days.
Our little man never did pick up his suitcase, did he?
Nope.
Strange.
Ain't it, though? I've been tempted once or twice to look to see what's inside it. Ain't even locked.
Well, it seems to me that under the circumstances that you have a perfect right.
You do? Well, I wouldn't want to do it without a witness.
Well, that's me.
It is? That's all I wanted to know. I'm trying to look in that thing and see if it's in here. Wonder what's in it.
Soy linen. Sweater. Soap and the razor wrapped in a towel with SS Cristobal written across it. Pair of old shoes.
Yeah.
Nothing but religious pamphlets.
Yep, that's all.
Evening, Mr. Potter.
Oh.
Hello, Mr. Wilson.
Hi, Mr. Wilson. Hi. You, Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Potter and I have been poking our noses into somebody else's business. That suitcase. That chap left it here, and he never did call back.
That's been more than 2 weeks ago.
Did he say what he was doing in Hartford?
No, looked in the phone book, didn't telephone. Kind of funny looking he was. A scrawny little feller with big, starry blue eyes. Had a queer walk. Like any second, he might break into a run.
Did he have a foreign accent?
Why, yes, he did. But not so much of an accent as a foreign way of talking.
You happen to know who he could be, Mrs. Rankin?
Why, no. I was just trying to complete your mystery for you. Don't all foreign strangers have to have foreign accents?
Mary, have you seen Red?
Why, no. Not since I took him home to you a couple of days ago.
He's been spending all his time out in the woods, and he doesn't even come home for his meals.
But you told me he never ran away.
He never did.
No, that's why Noah's so anxious.
Come on, Mary.
Good night, Mr. Wilson.
Good night.
Night, Noah.
Night.
Alright, so I've got you here. This isn't a game review, but a game movie review. I know it's kind of cheap to use that intro and trick you like that, but I don't know any other time that I'm going to talk about the Mario Bros. Movie, so here it is. So I saw the movie the other night with a few friends of mine, and going into it, I was a little bit skeptical because the Rotten Tomato meter was like 56%, and I was like, oh god. And I read some of the reviews, and there was one that said like the movie was just as bad or worse, I think, than the original from 1993, and I was like, okay, that's a little harsh, because that movie's really bad. And then the audience score came out, and it was a 98%, and I was like, something's not adding up here, like 98 versus 56. I guess that's happened before with like that one Star Wars movie, which the critics were right on, but yeah, it was. So going into it, I wasn't sure what to think. And coming out of it, I wasn't sure what to think. So before I get into that, I'm going to get into some pros of the movie. One, the animation. The animation in this movie was fantastic. I really love like the textures on everything, like Mario's clothing. And that was the big one for me. I don't know why, but I was really attached to Mario's clothing. Just really, like, I could see the stitches in it, and just good. But a lot of the action scenes were well directed and animated. They were fun and kept you engaged with all the colors and such, especially on like Rainbow Road in the film, and which is like later into the movie, but that was really fun to watch. And just the colors and the models and faces of the characters. I wasn't expecting like terribly much because it was Illumination who does Minions and Super Me. I mean, those movies are fine, but I think this looks far better than those. And another pro of the movie was the music, but it's music we've heard, you know, since 1985, just, you know, remade to like an orchestral piece, which is fine, and I think that's actually the right way to go, because The Last of Us show used the original score, so if you're going to adapt these games, I think you probably should adapt their music as well. Yeah, the music worked well in this, and they use mostly original songs in the game, but Illumination has this little quirk they like to do, where they just like to use licensed music a lot. And I think there was like 4 or 5, maybe probably like 3 or 4, just licensed songs that felt kind of like anachronistic to the movie. I know they were 80s songs, but they just felt like they were just weirdly placed. I don't know. I think that concludes my pros list. So let's get to the cons. Con number one on top of the list, and I think this is the biggest one, was the pacing. This movie is paced like a TikTok, Reddit, AMA, Subway Surfer video. If you not know what I'm talking about, it's like these videos where someone's reading a Reddit thread, and at the bottom there's a Subway Surfer. It's just trying to keep your attention the whole time, so you like keep with it. And like I said earlier, this movie begins and ends, and the middle chunk is kind of there. It doesn't feel like it ever has a rising. I mean, I guess it kind of does, but not really. This felt like action scene to action scene to action scene. The best way I could describe it is like an MCU movie, but there's no character moments, which, I mean, I don't like the MCU movies that much, but I'd rather watch one of those for character than this movie for sure, especially when tackling such iconic characters like Mario and Donkey Kong and, you know, Princess Peach and Luigi and Bowser, who, let me say right now that Bowser was probably the best part of the entire movie. His motivations were funny, and Jack Black's great, so I don't know. I was rooting for him the whole time. But, yeah, just, I don't know. The characters were there, and they were on screen, but they weren't really there. And I think the biggest, you know, example of this is it is an action-to-action scene, and there's a scene where Donkey Kong and Mario fall off Rainbow Road, and they fall into like a whale's mouth. It was like a whale. And they had this moment where they're about to have, they get into like how their dads don't like them, which is kind of a weird trait for Mario, but whatever. They get into how their dads don't like them. And just as they're starting to like buddy up and have like this moment, Donkey Kong gets angry and hits the ground, and water washes them out, and it literally washes the scene away. And that was like the most, besides like one scene with Peach, that was the most character development we got in the entire movie. And I would say it was probably like 1% of the entire thing. So that's really unfortunate. And no, I'm not here sitting like, oh, I only watch films with like intense characters and complex themes. You know, I'm not talking about like that. But this was a kid's movie. And also this. So these movies can be like for kids and also have some kind of complexity to them. The characters in this movie were pretty much just, it felt like Gmod roleplay. They had the skins of these characters, but they weren't real people. They weren't representing anything genuine. That's how I could describe it. It was just, I don't know. That was the worst part about it. Just the potential, watching the nice animation and the music happen while seeing just dull talking heads on your screen. So that's, yeah, really just a huge flaw with the movie. But another flaw, that Bowser didn't win.
Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
Above suspicion is goddamn right. Rankin is not just suspicious in the eyes of his detective adversary, Wilson. No, he is now suspicious in the eyes of his newfound wife. That scene with the animal abuse, which leads right into him looming over her bed, this creeping, like, crawling shadow that covers her. And then just the way he's talking and telling her to, like, not worry about the dog, it just seems like Rankin is on the cusp of just, like, snapping. And he's really at his wit's end. And also, speaking of being kind of crazy, Wilson has taken a very bold front offensive approach to this case and laying his cards on the table. So if Rankin doesn't realize that Wilson's after him by now, then I think Rankin's probably an idiotic Nazi, which, I mean, all Nazis are. And yeah, just the scene with the shadows coming over Loretta Young's character Mary, it's very, like, creepy. It's very weird. It's like, because they keep bringing up, like, there's like a lot of angelic imagery, and they bring up angels, and there was a, like, demon statue in the beginning. Orson Welles said he wanted to make this film have, like, a nightmarish tone. He wanted to have it, like, be kind of sinister, and you can definitely see that at the beginning when the lines are blurring in and out. It almost feels like, with Meineke going, it almost feels like you're coming in and out of consciousness, and that this is kind of like a strange dream coming over you. And yeah, just a lot of weird imagery in this. And that scene with the dog and the beating of the dog is just very, very intense, and not what I was expecting from this film. Not one. I don't think that's what one would expect. A lot of this from this film. But yes, our two main characters now have pretty much laid their cards on the table. But let's see who has the dead man's hand and who doesn't.
Were you able to find out anything?
Meineke did go to Rankin's house, and your sister did see him.
Did Mary say so?
She started to. Now, your sister is a fine woman, Noah, but she must find out the kind of man she's married to.
You don't know Mary. She wouldn't listen to anything against him, much less believe.
Noah, we must arrange it so that she finds out for herself. You understand? Yes. One thing certain, she knows nothing now, nothing at all. Except that he didn't want her to admit having seen someone she did see. I'd give something to know what explanation he's making right now.
I was a student in Geneva. There was a girl. The night before I was to leave, we went out on the lake together. She told me unless I promised to marry her, she'd never return to shore. Oh, I thought she was joking. Naturally, but she wasn't. Before I could stop her, she stood up in the boat. Well, I dived in after her, but it was too late. She was gone. Only one person knew we were on the lake together. Her brother. He knew I hadn't murdered her, but he told me he'd be willing to call it an accident for compensation. I gave him all I had and left Switzerland. As the years went by, I allowed myself to believe that the dead past really was dead. And then, on our wedding day, Mary, he appeared again. Her brother, the little man. I gave him all the money I had in the world. And he went away again.
Darling, you should have told me. And not carried this awful thing around by yourself.
You're a very wonderful person, Mary. I love you very much.
Oh, child. Why didn't he go back for his things?
Well, I suppose once he had money, he could afford better. Darling, I'm terribly nervous. I think I'll work up in the clock alone tonight by myself. It will calm me. You understand, don't you?
Of course I understand.
Shall I walk you home?
No, dear, there's no need for that.
It's pretty late.
That's all right. In Harper, there's nothing to be afraid of.
I love you.
Poor old Red. He heard my whistle, I'll bet. He couldn't bark or anything. He just crawled this far and died. Why do you think he died?
Let's go and find out.
That's young Longstreet's dog, Red. Looks like he's dead to me. Yeah. They're taking him up to Dr. Lawrence's office. Would you know anything about it? Wonder what the world's the matter with him. Checkers?
No, thank you.
That Coke's a nickel. Thanks, Mr. Rankin.
Doctor, how long could the dog have lived with that amount of poison in him?
Oh, not more than a minute or so, I'd say.
Well, then Red must have been poisoned within a few hundred yards of where you found him, Noah. And the latter part of the distance, he must have been moving slower and slower. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thanks, Jim.
Mr. Peabody, would you please get that magazine rack in and hurry up about it?
Yes, Mr. Potter.
Hurry up about it. Move along and... afternoon, Mr. Wilson. Afternoon, Noah. Bring him right in there.
What does the law say about this kind of murder? Is it the same as killing a man?
It ought to be. It's just as bad.
Forepaws muddy. No mud on hind. Dry leaves mixed with the mud. Red must have been digging somewhere in the woods.
Have you any idea what for, Mr. Wilson?
The body, I think. Minor case.
The little man? Then...
Just caught me.
Anything wrong?
Wrong? What do you mean, loading up like this?
Yeah.
Just going on a search. What you after?
Found a machine out. What search?
For the body. State police deputized half the town. Just reach up there, fourth shelf.
One misses the news up in the clock tower. What body are they searching for?
I bet this fella left his bags here. Scrawny little Dutch. Unhappy looking. I knew he'd come to a bad end. That ought to be 15 cents, mister. But I'll just put it on your account.
Oh, Sarah told me you're up here. Well, why are you packing? Are we going somewhere?
We aren't, dearest. I am.
What are you talking about?
As a rule, men leave their wives because they don't love them, but I must leave you because I do. Oh, you won't object once you know the kind of man you marry.
But you are the man I've married, and that's all that matters. Darling, I meant it when I said for better or for worse.
Even to killing Red.
You couldn't. It was an accident.
No, I meant to kill him. Murder can be a chain, Mary, one link leading to another until it circles your neck. Red was digging at the grave of the man I killed. Yes, your little man.
You killed him?
With these hands. The same hands that have held you close to me. Now, are you satisfied to let me go?
Why? Why did you do it?
I'd have given him all I had, but his dreams were far grander. He knew that your father was well-to-do. He knew that Justice Longstreet would be glad to protect his daughter from any scandal by paying a few $1,000. Oh, Mary, I should have gone away and lost myself in a world where he could never find me, but I loved you, and I was weak.
Darling, if one of us goes, we'll both go. You would have shared half my trouble if I'd had any. Charles, what is there to connect you with that man?
Nothing, actually. You're the only one that knows I knew him.
Well, then you need have no fear. If I'm the only one who can speak.
But, Mary, in failing to speak, you become part of the crime.
But I'm already a part of it. Because I'm a part of you.
Don't you shudder at the first touch of my hands as though it was the touch of death?
Nerves.
Oh, hold me close, Charles. Hold me close.
Mr. Peabody, you go back to town with the sheriff and open up the coroner's office.
Yes,
I knew
sir.
darn well it was the same feller. Of course, he's changed some. Being buried in the earth does it. Evening, Mr. Wilson.
Evening, Mr. Potter.
Evening, Noah.
Evening, Mr. Potter.
Mess, ain't it?
What do we do about Mary? We can't leave her alone with him now that we know.
Well, she realizes now that whatever story he told her about Meineke was false. Noah, I think your sister should be ready to hear.
Want more engagement? Send us mail at russeyreels@outlook.com. Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
God, he is tastefully evil. And he killed Red, the dog. I wonder what training happened or they went through to make the dog lie limp in their arms like that and just play dead. Of course, you can see like the nostrils fluctuating on the dog still, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, I wonder what training they went through to make that happen. I'm not really, well versed in that field, but yeah, I just wonder. I hope it was nothing like, since this is 1946, I hope it was nothing like severe, but probably wasn't. But yes, we've been talking about directing a lot tonight. Of course, this is Orson Welles, and that's important to discuss because it is Welles, but we'll talk about writers real quick. So, the writers for this film were Anthony Baylor, Victor Trivas, Decla Dunning, and uncredited were Orson Welles and John Huston. Huston was the original director for this film, but I think he joined the military, and it was given to Welles, who came in and also did rewrites on the script, which is why Mr. Potter exists, the crazed checker-playing store owner. And apparently made some antsy. So the producer on this film, Sam Spiegel, called himself on the credits S.P. Eagle, and the composer for this film, I don't remember his name, but he joked that this film was the S.T. Ranger, just kind of mocking him, which is pretty funny. And Sam Spiegel was a producer in Hollywood, I think, for like 40 years or so. He was very influential, did multiple films, and supposedly he inspired Harvey Weinstein. And just like Harvey Weinstein, he assaulted many women, or he's accused of assaulting women. So I guess that's like the trick to getting into Hollywood as a producer, is just to assault a bunch of people. Yeah. Anyways, let's get back to the movie and see where things go.
Charles, will they make me look at the body?
I shouldn't think so.
Because I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't think I could. See, I've never seen a dead person.
How many are you having to tea, Mary?
28 altogether, I think. Yeah.
You didn't eat nothing at dinner.
Isn't that
You'll
rather
be fainting
a lot?
again, Miss Mary.
28 for just you, Sarah?
No.
Oh, we'll manage all right.
Suppose I should...
Should what?
I don't know. Only I'm terrified of seeing anybody or being seen.
Mary, you must get tight hold of yourself. If you're determined to go through this thing, you'll know beforehand exactly what you're going to do and say at all times. Perfect naturalness at all times. Now, darling, listen to me. Darling. I am prepared to go to the police.
It's your father, Miss Mary. He wants to talk to you.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Hello? Yes, I think so. Just a minute and I'll see.
He wants me to come over.
Did he ask me to?
Said he wanted to see me alone.
There's
Nothing unusual about a father wanting to see his daughter, is there? Is there?
No. All right, Adam, I'll be right over. Don't you think that's rather strange?
Strange? No, strange. Tell you what I'll do. I'll go over to the church and work on the clock while you're with your father. And you can by and pick me up later.
I'm so afraid. He was so pointed that wanted to see me alone, and his voice sounded so different.
And you know what you're going to say, don't you?
Come in, Mary.
Is something wrong?
Mr. Wilson is here on a very serious matter. We must try to help him every way possible. He wants to ask a few questions of you.
What do you want to know, Mr. Wilson?
You know about the body that was discovered yesterday, Mrs. Rankin?
Yes.
Did you ever meet the deceased?
No, I never met him.
Have you seen the body?
No.
Well, then, how can you be sure you never met him?
Of course, I can't be certain. Mr. Wilson, do you suspect me of something? If so, what?
Of shielding a murderer. Perhaps this photograph will refresh your memory. Do you recognize this man? That is Conrad Meineke, commander in charge of one of the more efficient concentration camps. You know him, don't you? You have met him here in Harper.
No, I've never seen that man, Mr. Wilson.
Judge, would you mind putting out the lights? I've been showing your father some films, and I'd like you to see them, too. I'm on the Allied Commission for the Punishment of War Criminals. It's my job to bring escaped Nazis to justice. It's that job that brought me to Harper.
Surely you don't think that... Mr. Wilson, I've never so much as even seen a Nazi.
Well, you might without you realizing it. They look like other people and act like other people when it's to their benefit. Gas chamber, Mrs. Rankin. The candidates were first given hot showers so that their pores would be open and the gas would act that much more quickly. And this is a lime pit in which hundreds of men, women, and children were buried alive.
Why do you want me to look at these horrors?
All this you're seeing, it's all the product of one mind. The mind of a man named Franz Kindler.
Franz Kindler?
Yes, he was the most brilliant of the younger minds from the Nazi Party. It was Kindler who conceived the theory of genocide, mass depopulation of conquered countries, so that regardless of who won the war, Germany would emerge the strongest nation in Western Europe, biologically speaking. Unlike Goebbels, Himmler, and the rest of them, Kindler had a passion for anonymity. The newspapers carried no picture of him. Oh, no, and just before he disappeared, he destroyed every evidence that might link him with his past, down to the last fingerprint. There's no clue to the identity of Franz Kindler, except one little thing. He has a hobby that almost amounts to a mania. Clocks.
So have lots of people. You yourself.
Well, I'm not quite finished, Mrs. Rankin. In prison, in Czechoslovakia, a war criminal was awaiting execution. This was Conrad Meineke, one-time executive officer for Franz Kindler. He was an obscenity on the face of the earth. The stench of burning flesh was in his clothes. But we gave him his freedom on the chance that he might lead me to Kindler. He led me here, Mrs. Rankin. And here I lost him. Until yesterday. Your dog Red found him for me. But unfortunately, Meineke was dead and buried. Now, in all the world, there's only one person who can identify Franz Kindler. That person is the one who knows knows definitely who Meineke came to harbor to see.
No, he's not an Nazi. My Charles is not a Nazi.
You were at Rankin's house during the afternoon of the day you were
Where?
married.
Where?
Rankin's house.
Oh, yes, yes.
Did anyone come while you were there?
Not that I remember.
Now, try hard to remember. It's not so long ago. Only 2 weeks. You were hanging curtains.
No one came.
Were you alone all the time?
No?
Who else was there?
Charles. He came right after his last class, and we were together for more than an hour. You have nothing to link my husband with this man, Kindler, except a wild suspicion. It's a ridiculous suspicion. You're trying to use me to implicate him, and you can't. You can't involve me in a lie, and that's all it is a lie. It's a lie, you know. It's a lie. It's a lie.
Mary, Mary. Wait a minute, Mary. Mary! Wait a minute, sister. That's better. You know that your welfare and Noah's means more to me than anything, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
You've got to face this thing with complete honesty, sister. Your entire happiness may well depend on your telling me the absolute truth. If Mr. Wilson is right, and you have innocently married a criminal, well, then there is no marriage. There's no call upon your loyalty as a wife.
He's good. He's good. He wouldn't hurt anybody except to protect somebody he loved. He's good.
Well, then the truth can't hurt him. Charles was not with you that afternoon, sister. I remember you saying so when you came home.
You're against him too, Adam. Yes, you are. You've never liked him. That's why you don't believe me now. Leave us alone, Adam. He's not a Nazi. He's not one of those people. He's not. Leave us alone.
She has the facts now. But she won't accept them. They're too horrible for her to acknowledge. Not so much that Rankin could be Kindler, but that she could ever have given her love to such a creature. But we have one ally, her subconscious. It knows what the truth is and is struggling to be heard. The will to truth within your daughter is much too strong to be denied.
Look here, Wilson. If he's not Charles Rankin, we should be able to expose him without too much difficulty.
I'm not interested in proving that he isn't Charles Rankin. I'm only interested in proving that he's Franz Kindler.
How do you propose to do that?
Through your daughter. Unless I'm mistaken, she's headed for a breakdown. That's the usual result of a person being inwardly divided. Rankin will recognize this, and that's what I'm banking on.
What do you mean?
Well, he can't afford to trust a person approaching hysteria. He won't. He'll have to act. He may try to escape before she collapses, which would only be an admission of guilt. Or,
Go on.
he may kill her. You're shocked at my cold-bloodedness. Well, that's quite natural. You're a father. And it's because you are a father, Judge Longstreet, that I'm talking to you like this. Naturally, we'll try to prevent murder being done. However, the proof that murder is his aim would be the strongest evidence that your daughter could have.
Who could possibly want to hurt Mr. Cooper? No.
Johnny.
You're still afraid.
Stop it now. I mean it.
Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
What a fantastic scene. Long scene, but yeah, it pretty much took up the entire portion since our last break. It was almost that entire duration. But such a great example of exposition. It isn't boring, and the just very creepy. The lighting's great with the flickering and the sound effect of the clicking like projector as she's sitting there watching these atrocities, and just her horrific face like staring as the light is like blinking on her. And then when it stops, the film reel stops and it hits the desk and startles her and just cuts that tension. And the viewer and Mary just executed so well, and it was just really, really nice. That footage they were watching in that scene was actual documentary footage of the concentration camps. And in fact, this is the first film, I believe, yeah, this is the first feature film to ever show in its content that documentary footage. So that's like very important. And you know, this film was not widely available, the concentration camp film, that is. And that's why it was so important to be brought over here, because many doubted the concentration camps in the world of the film and in real life. So just like looking at these horrors, it's like very interesting to see these characters' reactions, and then just think about the historical context of that footage. And, you know, it's like, thank God today we have so much like knowledge in books and just access to this footage, and that, you know, no one can really question, and no one really, you know, no one ever would question the Holocaust in this day and age. But yeah.
Charles!
Listen, strike. 100 years after more than...
It was a trap, Charles, just like you said. Mr. Wilson was there. He tried to tell me that you were a Nazi. And I was supposed to believe it. Imagine you being an escaped Nazi. Oh, he thinks he's very clever, that Wilson. His idea was to horrify me into telling him about the little man.
Who did he say he thought I was?
A Nazi. Franz Kindler. He made it all up just to trick me. But I didn't tell him anything, and I didn't tell Father anything. I outfaced both of them, Charles. He'll be simple enough to prove you're not that Nazi. We'll just find someone who was in your class at college, and he'll identify you, and that's all there'll be to it.
If what you say is true, he can't touch me. I'm quite safe if you say nothing.
Oh, I won't, Charles. I promise I won't. They can torture him, and I won't tell them anything.
Look, chimes have awakened Papa.
We must go down and greet them. You must act naturally. Smile at them, you understand?
Yes.
Are you all right?
Yes, I'm all right. We'll face them, darling.
And when she struck that angel-starred margin, it was a sight to behold. Professor, you sure knocked it off. My hat's off to you.
Congratulations, Mr. Rankin.
Won't the rector be delighted?
What I want to know is, if she's going to chime all night long, how's everybody going to get any sleep?
We'll face them, darling. All of them.
Them chickens of yours are going to be on and off the roost every 15 minutes.
Sarah. Sarah, I've told you I want these curtains drawn. I don't like the sunlight streaming in. It's bad for them.
Mary, that's rubbish, and you know it. Up at the other house, we never close the
That
curtains.
has nothing to do with it. This is my house, and I want them drawn.
Well, suit yourself, then. It's going to look mighty gloomy for the party.
It's that time already.
Were you able to see when they opened the grave, Mr. Randall? Was
yes.
it too horrible?
Well, not the most pleasant sight.
Oh, there's Mary. Hello, Mary.
Filling out prescriptions. That's part of this business of hate. Sleeping pills, that's another.
Mrs. Rankin.
$1.65.
Okay.
One wrap?
No, thanks.
Sleeping pills. Don't approve of.
No?
Man does a day's work, man gets a night's sleep. Leastways he could until that clock started bonging every few
I
minutes.
believe Mrs. Rankin ordered some ice cream.
Ice cream?
Yeah.
Already gone. Fella said he was going past your house, so I give it to him. Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Rankin.
Wouldn't dream of setting foot outside the house unless Fred were along. Who knows? He might be anywhere. The murderer, I mean. Waiting for a new victim.
I hope you haven't forgotten you were kind enough to invite me, Mrs. Rankin.
No, of course not, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Potter asked me to deliver this.
Oh, the ice cream's good. Sarah's waiting for it.
I hope it hasn't melted. Well, I won't detain you any longer.
Yes.
I have a drink for you.
Oh, just the medicine I need.
You know Dr. Hippard?
Oh, yes, of course. How are you, Doctor?
Yes, sure. Grandma Lawrence, can I get you something?
Oh, nothing more, thank you, dear.
Where's Dr. Rankin?
Oh, he'll be here in just a few minutes.
I want to have a word with him about that clock.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Bella.
3 weeks ago.
Yes, on my last trip.
The butcher of
May I get
Melbourne
you
was
some
on
more
hand
tea?
at that time. And Jack the Ripper. And what was that Frenchman's name? Oh, hello, dear.
Hello.
Landru. There may well be 10 or a dozen graves out there in those woods.
Autopsy showed the murder was committed just 3 weeks ago.
May I get you
Full
some
moon,
more
wasn't
tea?
it?
Oh, thank you, no.
Jeff, may I get you another
I wish I
drink?
could remember what Emerson says about crime. Oh, there's Rankin. He may know.
Sorry to be late.
I'm fine, thanks.
Hello, everybody.
Darling.
Oh, hello there, Rankin.
How are you, Mr. Wilson?
You know the quotation?
The Hibbert?
Emerson.
Quotation?
Commit a crime and the earth is made of glass.
No, I don't.
Commit a crime and the earth is made of glass. Commit a crime. Commit a crime, and it seems as if a coat of snow fell on the ground, such as reveals in the woods the track of every partridge and fox and squirrel and mole. You cannot recall the spoken word. You cannot wipe out the foot track. You cannot draw up the ladder so as to leave no inlet or clue.
You're Mr. Wilson, aren't you? Do you know you're our #1 suspect in our murder case?
Oh?
So far, you're the only suspect. Potter put the finger on you. He thinks you committed the crime to get possession of some priceless antique.
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Rankin, I wish you'd left that clock alone. Harper was a nice, quiet place until it started banging.
Mary, what's Wilson doing here?
I don't know.
You invited him, didn't you? What's he after?
I don't know.
Are you all right?
Yes, quite all right.
I remember Friday, Mary.
Yes, all right.
Good night.
Friday. Good night.
May I help you, dear?
No! No! No!
Mary, Mary.
No!
Mary. It's all right, dear. It's all right.
It broke, and the beads fell all over the floor. He took her upstairs. When I left, I could still hear her crying.
Well, the floodgates have opened. Her subconscious is almost won. From now on, we must know every move that Mrs. Rankin makes. She's never to leave the house unless I know where she's going. If for any reason I can't be found, she's to be detained, no matter on what pretext. Understand, Sarah?
Don't worry. She won't get by me.
When she snapped those beads, she signed her own death warrant. We're carrying her life in our hands. Every time she walks on a slippery sidewalk, is near something that can fall, drives an automobile, anything that could result in accidental death, her life is in danger.
Yes, Judge. She won't get by me.
afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Today we will attempt to finish with the career of Friedrich the Grosser, König von Preußen, Kurfürst von Brandenburg, Prince von Poland. Frederick the Great to you. 863.
85 cents.
Hello?
Oh, Mary. Mary, this is Charles. Can you hear me, dear? I can't speak very loudly where I am, but I want you to understand this. Something very important has come up. You must come to the church immediately. The church tower. Understand?
Yes, I understand.
I don't want anybody to know that you're going there. Mary, don't tell anybody you're going. Go to the church tower and leave your car in the rear and come in through the back door. Okay? Bye.
They're coming. They're coming. Yes, sir. Stack that wood down there with the rest of them, then get back to work.
Yes, sir.
Watch that, Mr. Peabody. You're moved, Fetch.
Going someplace? Where to? Well, I asked you where you was going, Miss Mary.
I heard.
Well?
Sarah, you seem to forget I'm no longer a child. I'm a married woman.
Well, you ain't been married very long. Wait, Mrs. Rankin.
What is it? I'm in a hurry.
Well, you don't need to go biting my head off.
What is it, Sarah?
Well, I don't...
If you've got something to say, say it. What is it, Sarah?
I don't know what's got into you lately. Indeed, I don't. You never was mean to me like this back at the old house.
Sarah,
Maybe I've outworn my usefulness. I'm not as young as I used to be. Maybe you don't want me around anymore.
For heaven's sake, stop talking such nonsense.
Well, it's true, and you know it. I'm going to pack my things and leave here. Indeed, I am.
Sarah, I'm sorry if I've hurt your feelings. I didn't mean to. Really, I didn't. Sarah. Now, I couldn't get along without you, and you know that, don't you? Well, don't you?
Honest, Miss
Yes,
Mary?
honestly, Sarah.
Oh, Miss Mary. Oh, Miss Mary.
Sarah. Sarah, please, wait just a minute. Sarah, you'll never leave me, will you?
You know how I feel about you, don't you?
Yes, I do.
It's like you was my own daughter, my own little girl. How could I?
Sarah, I've got to go now. Really, I do. I promised to be somewhere.
Well, where to, Miss Mary?
Stop fussing, Sarah. It's a secret.
Oh, Miss Mary!
What's the matter? Sarah, what's the matter?
My heart. I can't breathe. The pain. Oh, no, Miss Mary, please don't leave me. No, don't leave me.
Lie right there and keep quiet. Keep quiet now, Sarah.
Maybe I'm dying.
You're
Miss
not
Mary.
dying.
Stay with me.
I won't leave you. 130, please.
Yes, Mary?
Look, I was supposed to meet Charles at the clock tower right away, and I can't get there. Will you go and tell him to please wait for me? And no one's to know where or why you're going. It's important.
All right. $238, please. Hello, may I speak to Mr. Wilson?
Looks like it's coming up for snow.
Yes, that's right. Mrs. Rand, Mrs. Lundstrom, isn't it after hours? You ladies are working too hard at the library.
Oh, no, Mr. Rankin. We closed as usual at 3:30.
You're perfectly right. I dismissed class 10 minutes early. Yes. That's 3:44. I was playing checkers with Mr. Potter, and I didn't realize.
You know what you are, Mr. Rankin? You're the absent-minded professor. Oh, no.
So, I recently got caught up and watched the movie X, which I wanted to see when it came out a year or two ago. I have yet to see Pearl, so I'm not going to comment on that. But X is a horror film, a slasher film directed by Ty West and was produced by A24. The film basically follows a group of filmmakers and actors as they go and are trying to make a porno film. Of course, they rent on this old farm and they get killed one by one. Typical slasher stuff. And typical slasher stuff was actually what I wasn't expecting from this movie. Now, when I see an A24 film, a lot of the time they're typically subverting a lot of tropes of the genres that they're doing. Think about it like The Witch, which was A24, Lighthouse, which are the same director, but, just stuff like those films and Lamb and Midsommar and those sort of things. They just kind of, they differentiate themselves. And that's what I expected X to do within its genre, and I think it does, but I didn't think it was going to stick to a lot of tropes as much as it did, which is what took me off guard. So when I talk about tropes and such, there was no, you knew exactly who the villain was pretty much from the beginning, and all these characters split up and get killed off one by one. Admittedly, though, in creative ways and fun ways, but it wasn't like what I was expecting out of the film is to have some kind of weird, just weird like supernatural thing happen, or just something that was like completely bizarre. Which admittedly, the scenes with Pearl, who is the killer in this movie, she's an old woman, and her husband. Yeah, that's gross and weird, but it wasn't anything like terribly bizarre. So my theory, which is what I thought while watching it, because I knew about Pearl, but I didn't know Pearl was a prequel. So Mia Goth, who is fantastic in this movie, she plays two different people, but she does so well. But I thought that at the end of the movie, the old woman was going to put her soul into Mia Goth or something and become Pearl, and like go on to keep killing in this new body, and just like she's like trying to have sex to reclaim her youth. That was gonna be something strange like that. So I was setting myself up the entire film for some weird plot twist that, honestly probably would suck if I did it, but yeah, it just never happened, and that's what caught me off guard the most. But all the actors in this film, even who was Kid Cudi in this film, was really, their performance was really spectacular. And honestly, in a lot of these films, like Friday the 13th, or even Texas Chainsaw, which this film is definitely taking from unabashedly, but all these characters were interesting. I was like upset to see them go. Whereas in Texas Chainsaw, I'm not really, Texas Chainsaw more so, but let's go to Friday the 13th. I'm there to watch them die, and I'm having fun as I do it, Sounds sadistic, but that's the point. But you're there to watch just some stupid people die, and just have fun while doing it. But X, I actually care for these people, and they all had, like, quirks about them. Like, Cody's character was the Vietnam veteran, and he had a lot of charisma and just interesting dialogue. And I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who leads the group, he was great as well. Just these character moments, especially this one scene where they all talk about Jenna Ortega wanting to join, into the film, which is so tragic, that whole debacle with those two, because I don't really like either of them in that scenario. But yeah, anyways, but no, there's just great character moments like that. Just a lot of just consistent, superb dialogue. A lot of great kills and effects as well. There was just so many homages to the grindhouse horror films that this movie was trying to emulate for sure, which I enjoyed and appreciated. But yeah, just my biggest thing is that it didn't go anywhere weird, and that's fine. I just was expecting it, and I just kind of set myself up for not disappointment, but being confused. So I would say X is just a really solid slasher film. It stands like above most slasher films, especially of current years, because it has just great characters, great direction. I didn't really mention that, but a lot of great direction here, and just an interesting plot, but nothing too spectacular or amazing. It's definitely carried by its cast and its characters, though. And yeah, I'm going to check out Pearl soon, and I'm sure that's great as well. I think I heard people like that. And if it has Mia Goth in it, I'm sure it's good. But X, I'm going to give a solid 8.5, 8 out of 10. Somewhere around there, yeah. It's pretty good. I would recommend it.
Now, The Stranger, hosted by Russey Reels.
You have to just feel bad for Mary. She is holding on to this connection as tightly as she can, and she just does not seem to want to let go. It's even affecting those around her, like her housekeeper or caretaker or whatever. And I'm also enjoying these moments of Rankin's last moments. He is very unhinged, just the nervous looking glass, and the overall scenes of him appearing sweaty and just scared, and when he's on the phone looking over his shoulder constantly trying to see if it's okay while drawing a swastika, I think it looked like a swastika, and then he fixed it to where it wasn't, which was admittedly kind of funny. But yeah, overall he's just a ticking time bomb. So this last stretch, this ending here, is going to be the next bit, and then when we get back, we'll be done for the night. So I hope you have been enjoying The Stranger tonight with me, and we'll see you when we get back.
Sure are lucky today. I am. You sure are.
Good afternoon, Mr. Potter.
Afternoon, Mr. Hill.
I'm sorry, Mr. Potter, I can't find them.
What?
The earmuffs.
It's right over there by the mittens.
Come on, Mr. Potter, help us look.
Well, I'll be right back in a minute, Professor. Right over there by that box where I told you there was.
Those?
Yeah, latest thing out.
How much do you want for
85 cents.
Well, that's an awful lot.
Well, they come high this year. You want this thing?
Well, I'll keep it. You know, Mr. Potter, you're a bad influence. I intended to only spend a couple of minutes. You've made me spend the whole afternoon. Look what time it is.
Yeah. I'd like to get even.
It's your move.
He really had the wind up.
Golly.
You can still smell the glue where he joined it.
Look there, Professor. Like I told you, it's coming up for snow. Look here, Professor. Double or nothing?
afternoon, Mr. Potter.
Charles?
He didn't go to the church.
No, Sarah.
Sarah? What about Sarah?
Well, just as I was leaving, Sarah had some kind of an attack. She's resting now, yes. And Jeff said it wasn't very serious, but that I should stay with her. What's the matter, Charles?
Nothing's the matter.
Then why did you want me to go to the church? You said it was important.
It's important. Nothing actually. It's my sense of proportion is failing me these days.
Please, Charles, what is it?
I'm sorry. I've just begun to feel the strain. You see, I have my weak moments, too. I'll tell you at my own good time.
They found out anything more?
No, nothing. There's nothing to find out. Unless you.
No, I haven't seen anybody all day. I've been in my room.
There's a rumor going around that there's an arrest to be made. My headaches. The incident of the beads yesterday made me doubt your strength. I thought maybe you'd gone to your father and told him something. If you had...
You didn't have to be afraid.
No.
Why did you tell Noah?
Hmm? Why, what about?
Did you see him?
No, why should I see Noah?
Well, did you come here directly from the church?
Am I being cross-examined?
Oh, no, but when I found I couldn't leave Sarah, I called Noah and told him to go there and tell you I was detained.
I told you not to call anybody.
It was surely Noah that...
Call him and tell him not to go.
Well, I can't. I talked to him over...
Call him, I say!
He's gone!
If he dies, his blood will be on your hands.
What are you saying?
It's your meddling that's done this. Would have been all right if it was for you. For that, you had to be here. On that day. Taking your stupid trick! Calling Noah!
Did you kill Noah?
Yes, if he goes to the church and climbs up that ladder!
It was I you intended to kill, wasn't it?
No.
Why wasn't it I? God, Kindler! Kill me. Kill me, I want you to. I couldn't face life knowing what I've been to you and what I've done to Noah. But when you kill me, don't put your hands on me. Here. Use this.
Mary.
Operator. Operator, get me the state police.
Yes, the roadblocks are up. We're watching the railroad station, and he isn't hiding in the woods.
I'll go for the police.
Mr. Wilson? Well, if he is what I think he is, it's going to be easy. We'll do everything possible to bring her back.
She's gone, Mr. Wilson. She's not in the house.
Clock tower?
I don't know.
Well, if that's what he's hiding, if she gets there before us...
What'll we do?
Call Captain Samuels and the deputies. Get all the help you can. Where? Ouch. The church.
What about you?
I'll get there. Now, hurry up now. One of your sister may be still alive.
Don't move. I have a gun.
You don't need it. I'm alone.
What are you doing here?
Lift me up.
You're telling the truth?
Why should I lie?
You were followed here?
I came by our way. Through the cemetery. No one saw me. I needed the excuse. I was afraid you would let me out.
What do you want?
I came to kill you.
No, Mary, it's you that's going to die. You were meant to fall through that ladder. You're going to fall.
I don't mind if I take you with me.
You are a fool. They searched the woods. I watched them. Here, like God, looking into the lands. I'll hide in the woods. Don't search there again. A day or two, they'll be sure I got out of town.
When they find me, they'll know you're still here.
But, darling, you're on the verge of a breakdown. Now, you've cracked. Why else would you leave your bed? Climb to an empty church tower in the dead of night. Any child could see you'd wind up killing yourself.
Killing is what led you here. It won't help you now. Look out the window. Look!
Well, that's an old trick, Mr. Wilson. A very poor trick.
Tricks. That's all you know is tricks. I don't need any tricks. No matter what happens to me, tricks won't do you any good. You're finished, Herr Franz Kindler. The citizens of Harper. They've come after you. The plain little ordinary people, the ones you've been laughing at, Herr Franz Kindler. Well, you can't fool them anymore. Oh, sure, you can kill me, Mary, half the people down there. There's no escape. You have the world, and it closed in on you till there was only Harper. That closed in on you, and there was only this room. And this room, too, is closing in on you.
It's not true, the things they say I did. It's all their idea. I followed orders.
You gave the orders.
I only did my duty. Don't send me back to them. I can't face them. I'm not a criminal.
You are.
Give me that gun.
a hand.
No, thanks.
Hi, what happened?
V-Day in Harper.
Don't get that. Come on down.
Oh, not till you get me a new ladder. I've had my ankle busted and my head conked. From here on in, my friends, I'm taking it easy.
Well, I'll get you another ladder, Mr. Wilson. You've had enough trouble.
Good night, Mary. Pleasant dreams.
Well, what a finale. Similar to Wasp Woman, this film ends off with a pretty large bang. And also, similar to Wasp Woman, this film ends with some wonderful safety violations. Yeah, that scene where Kindler lifts Mary up into the clock tower, well, that was a stunt person's arm, and Loretta Young, apparently, from what I saw, I couldn't find too much confirming this, same as the carbolic acid in the last episode, Wasp Woman, but apparently she told the stunt coordinator to cut the cable because there was a wire going through her sleeve that was apparently very noticeable. So she told the stunt coordinator to cut the cable, and they would just do it, or they would be there that like all day. And they didn't tell Orson Welles, it seems. And so that scene where she's being grabbed and holding, just hanging over the edge there, that was seemingly real. That was it's just crazy that was ever, well, it wasn't allowed, but the fact that that ever happened is insane. But overall, this film is very competent. I mean, this was a film that Orson Welles considered to be one of his worst, which, the thing about Orson Welles is a lot of the projects he worked on, he wanted to be, you know, in charge of a lot. He was very meticulous. Like Citizen Kane, he's the writer, director, producer. In a lot of his projects, he was like in charge of so many departments at once. And with this film, of course, he wasn't even the original director, and the script wasn't his, and his rewrites were kind of looked at with fear. So he probably, I would say, probably felt that this film just wasn't his, and that's why he would consider it his worst. But for a film that is his worst, it's pretty good. But then again, it is Orson Welles. But yeah, the writing, direction, and just overall film was just well done. I really enjoyed it. For a film that no one really talks about, from what I've seen, that not many people talk about, from the 40s, it's pretty good. And I just love that poetic justice at the end. That, you know, the clock tower that Kindler helped build is what kills him in the end. And that's just, you know, same as Hitler, he killed himself, in a way. And, yeah, it was, I don't know, it's a very well-paced and steady burn. And, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It's, I mean, far more serious than Wasp Woman, but both competent in their own ways. And that's going to conclude our show tonight. I hope you have enjoyed being here with me again. Next month, well, we've had The Wasp Woman, The Stranger. What is next? Really, I don't know. I have a lot of future shows in mind right now. I have a lot of future ideas for more stylized episodes similar to this one should be. But those are kind of going to be farther down the road when I'm more comfortable making these, and when I probably have better equipment, because, you know, we're not working with the best right now. But we will see. And I'll figure out what the next show is and update you guys, because from The Wasp Woman to The Stranger, I knew exactly which. But I will say it's probably going to be some horror film, I will say, most likely. But yeah, we will figure it out. And you also can, you know, tell me films. If you find any more public domain films because that's what this show is based on, is the public domain, finding stuff that I can talk about and show on here without getting in trouble, because I don't want that. But I think what's interesting about the public domain aspect is finding all these films that I probably never would have watched anyway. Of course, there's films like Carnival of Souls and Night of the Living Dead that I have already seen, I really enjoy. But I probably would have eventually, but I wouldn't have, as soon as I did, watched The Stranger, and I'm glad I did. And going down this route, watching just films that never got their copyright sealed, I think is very interesting. So if you guys have any film recommendations, of course, send us an email at russeyreels@outlook.com, or just, comment below as this is posted on YouTube. But I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a good night tonight. Good night.